Good day, girls. Welcome to the class. Today we'll do Science and Technology 2, second chapter, Life Process in Living Organism, part 1. We'll be doing this lesson in two parts. Today we will do the first part of the lesson. Now the topics to be covered in this chapter are living organism and life processes, some nutrients and energy efficiency, living organism and energy production, and cell division, a life process. Okay, before we start, there are a few questions which I would like to discuss with you all. How are the foodstuffs and their nutrient contents useful for body? That the foodstuffs are digested and converted into soluble nutrients. These nutrients are carried by blood to every cell of the body. The oxygen inhaled at the time of respiration is also carried to every cell. In the body cells, these oxygen carries out oxidation of nutrients and thus energy is produced. The energy helps the body to carry out all its function. The nutrients help in the growth and development of the body. Second question, what is the importance of a balanced diet for body? I'm sure you have learnt this in the lower class. Now, balanced diet has carbohydrates, proteins, fats, vitamins and minerals in the right proportion. Each nutrient carries a specific important function. In balanced diet, all these nutrients are in right proportion. Since balanced diet is required for energy and nutrition, it is very important to maintain our health. Third question, which different functions are performed by muscles in body? Now there are three types of muscles in a body. The voluntary muscle, which brings about all the movements according to our will. Second, the involuntary muscles brings about all vital activities of the body. The visceral organs are under the control of the involuntary muscle. And the cardiac muscle controls the movement of heart. Carbohydrates and proteins are stored in the muscles. Next question, what is the importance of digestive juice in digestive system? Now digestive juice contains different enzymes. These enzymes acts as catalyst and brings about the chemical reaction at faster pace. The digestive juice of stomachs makes the pH of the digestive tract acidic, while that of the intestinal juice makes it alkaline. The fifth question, which system is in action for removal of waste material produced in human body? Obviously, it is the excretory system which helps in the removal of the nitrogenous waste material which is produced in our body. Sixth, what is the role of circulatory system in energy production? Now, due to the circulatory system, glucose from the digestive system and oxygen from the respiratory system is transported to every cell. The red blood cells carry the oxygen as the blood is pumped by the heart. In every cell, with the help of oxygen, glucose molecule yield the energy by the process of oxidation. The last question, how are the various processes occurring in human body controlled? In how many ways? Now there are two systems. One is the nervous system and the endocrine system. The nervous system and the endocrine system brings about the control of the nerves and the chemical coordination in the body. Due to such coordination, different functions of the body are carried out in a sequential and controlled manner. Now we go to the first part of the chapter, living organism and life process. Now our body has got many internal and external organs. Internal organs like the heart, the lungs, the stomach and many more. And the external organs, we could say the nose, the eyes and so on. Besides this internal and external organs, we have organ systems in our body like the digestive system, the excretory system. All these, the internal, the external organs, the digestive system, all these requires energy. Okay. Now for this, and all these organs and system and the organ system, they all have their own work. Okay. each one has to undergo a function to do, and which all requires a continuous supply of energy. Okay, and from where do we get this energy? Through the nutrient, through the food we eat. Now the food that we eat provides the energy. The food that we eat is nothing but carbohydrates. They contain fats, proteins, vitamin, and so on. Okay, the carbohydrate, the fat, and lipid in the diet provide energy to the body. The mitochondria present in the cytoplasm of the cell synthesize the energy by utilizing these nutrients. That is, the food we eat contain the essential nutrients. Okay, this through the process of circulation and digestion enter the cell. Okay, now for this reaction oxygen is also required. We breathe in air which contains oxygen. Exchange of gases takes place in the lungs, and through the process of respiration oxygen also reaches the cell. So the site where the reaction takes place is the cell. Okay, so in the cell, in the cytoplasm, in the mitochondria, the reaction between the nutrient food that we eat, that is carbohydrate, and the oxygen reaction takes place, and oxygen is produced. So this is how oxygen is produced in animals. Okay, it is provided by the circulating blood. Each cell is thus supplied with oxygen and nutrients to produce the energy. Now plants are autotrophic. They synthesize their own food by photosynthesis. After utilizing some of their own needs, the remaining food is stored in fruits, roots, the stem tubers, leaves, and etc. Plant matter is consumed by animals, thus taking the nutrients from them. So basically we see the nutrient that is required for producing energy is carbohydrates, proteins, and fats. Okay, so we need to eat various type of food which contains these nutrients. Can you imagine which food can we consume? Can you guess which food we can consume to get the necessary nutrients? Well, you can make a big list of it. Okay, let us go into the next part, living organism and energy production. So we are going to study in detail how exactly energy is produced from the nutrient. As discussed earlier, respiration is an important part of energy production. Okay, because it is through respiration that we get oxygen. Oxygen reaches the cell, and this next part is circulation. Respiration in living organisms takes place at two level. One is at body and cellular level. Body level respiration is exchange of oxygen and carbon dioxide between body and environment. That is through the process of inhalation and exhalation. We inhale air which contains oxygen, and then we exhale air which contains carbon dioxide. Now cellular respiration is oxidation of food inside the cell. That is, when oxygen through the lungs enter the body through the process of circulation enters the cell, the food that we eat also through the process of circulation and digestion enter the cell, and the reaction between the nutrient and oxygen, that is oxidation of food, takes place inside the cell. Now this oxidation of food inside the cell can take place with or without the help of oxygen, which we will be discussing it later. Now the dietary carbohydrate, okay, now I said as oxygen is utilized necessary for production of energy, carbohydrate, that is dietary carbohydrate, are also used for the production of energy in the form of ATP. Now the oxidation of glucose is carried out. Glucose is a type of carbohydrate. Okay, so oxidation of glucose is carried out step by step in the cell during the process of cellular respiration. Cellular respiration is done by following two methods. One is aerobic respiration, that is in the presence of oxygen, and anaerobic respiration, that is in the absence of oxygen. Now first let us discuss about aerobic respiration. That is, oxidation of glucose occurs here in the presence of oxidation, in the presence of oxidation, the presence of oxygen in three steps. Okay, let us discuss them. Now the three steps you can see, the first step is known as glycolysis, the second is tricarboxylic acid, also known as TCA or the Krebs cycle, and the third one is electron transfer chain reaction. Let us look into the first step known as glycolysis. In glycolysis, glucose molecule is oxidized stepwise into two molecules each of pyruvic acid, two molecules of ATP and two molecules of NADH2 and water. This process takes place in the cytoplasm of the cell. Okay, I repeat, this process takes place in cytoplasm. Now, during this process, where pyruvic acid is formed during glycolysis is again converted into a molecule of acetyl coenzyme A. Now, here, girls, I would like to tell you, I have written the short form of acetyl coenzyme A only due to space over here. This is not the way of writing. You need to write the full word with proper spelling. Acetyl coenzyme A. So again, to revise, glycolysis gets, okay, in glycolysis glucose is oxidized to pyruvic acid, ATP molecule, NADH2 and water. Then pyruvic acid is converted to a molecule of acetyl coenzyme A. Okay, now the next is known as the tricarboxylic acid or the TCA or the Krebs cycle. Now here, when acetyl coenzyme molecule here, now so far the first step of glycolysis was taking place in the cytoplasm. Now this acetyl coenzyme A that is formed in the cytoplasm now enters the mitochondria. I'm sure what is mitochondria and you know where it is present in the cell. You have learned it. It is called as the powerhouse of the cell. Today you will know that why mitochondria is known as the powerhouse of the cell. Okay, so this acetyl coenzyme A enters the mitochondria. The tricarboxylic acid cycle chain reaction takes place in the mitochondria. Now the acetyl part of acetyl coenzyme A is completely oxidized, releasing molecule of CO2, H2O, NADH2 and FADH2. Okay, so this process of oxidation of acetyl coenzyme A takes place in the mitochondria. The next step is known as the electron transfer chain reaction. The electron transfer chain reaction takes place only in the mitochondria. Now the molecules of NADH2 and FADH2 formed during the above process participate in the electron transfer chain reaction. Now from this, okay, NADH2, 3 molecules of ATP molecules are formed, and from FADH2, 2 molecules of ATP are produced during this cyclic reaction. Now along with this ATP, you can see water molecules are also formed in this reaction. So thus we can say that from one molecule of glucose, okay, one molecule, if you see the first step, one molecule of glucose gives rise to carbon dioxide, water, and along with energy after complete oxidation in the presence of oxygen. Now the two coenzymes that help in this cellular respiration is NADH2 and FADH2. NADH2 is nothing but nicotinamide adenine dinucleotide, and FADH2 is flavin adenine dinucleotide. Okay, so you can see how glucose is completely oxidized and energy is given out. So in the end, you can see the conclusion. Glucose is completely oxidized to give carbon dioxide, water, and energy is given out. Now we were talking about this ATP. ATP is also known as the energy currency. Now here you see this is the structure of ATP. Okay, ATP is known as adenosine triphosphate. You can see the 3 phosphate bond over here, 1 2 3 phosphate. That is why it is called as triphosphate. It is known as a molecule which is filled or with energy. Or we say ATP molecule, it is adenosine triphosphate, which is rich in energy. Now this ATP molecule is made up of 3 components. You can see something in blue over here, adenine here. Okay, it is made up of 3 components. Adenine is, this part is a nitrogen compound. Then you can see a 5-sided compound over here, which is a pentose sugar known as ribose. Its formula is C5H10O5. Okay, and you can see 3 phosphate group. So you can see this ATP is nothing but made up of 3 components. Okay. Now thus, okay. Now this, there is energy. Now you have learned always there is energy between the bonds. Whenever bonds are broken, energy is given out. So there is energy stored in the bonds by which the phosphate groups are attached to each other. Now, as per the need of the cell, energy is produced from ATP by breaking the phosphate bond. So here you see this one bond is broken and energy is released. Okay, so every time a bond is broken, energy is released. So as per the energy need, the bonds are broken and energy is given out. In case of, okay, now here we have seen how carbohydrate is used to produce energy. Okay, now in case the body does not require or does not get the carbohydrate, when can that happen? Either you're fasting, you have no food, you go hunger, the body does not get the nutrient. We can say in case of less dose of carbohydrate in the body, then lipid and protein are utilized for producing energy. Okay, so I would say that when there is no carbohydrate, that is the day when you are not eating, you're hunger, you're fasting, okay, there is less carbohydrate, the body tries to get energy from lipid and protein that is there in the body. Now lipids are converted into, here you can see, now lipids are converted into fatty acids and proteins are broken down to amino acids. Okay, and here you can see this fatty acid, okay, here is converted to acetyl coenzyme. Amino acid is also converted to acetyl coenzyme A. And how from acetyl coenzyme A energy is produced, we have already seen in the earlier chart. Okay, so the molecules of acetyl coenzyme A undergoes complete oxidation by the process of Krebs cycle in mitochondria for releasing energy. So you see how carbohydrates gets converted into energy. We saw through 3 steps, no, glycolysis, the TCA cycle, and then the electron transfer step. So in those 3 steps. And if carbohydrate is not there, how lipids and proteins can be utilized to produce energy. Okay, now this was in the presence of oxygen. Okay, now energy production or in microorganism through anaerobic respiration. Now there are certain organisms which live in the absence of oxygen. So their energy has to be produced in the absence of oxygen. Now let us see that in detail. Now some bacteria and lower organisms do not live in the presence of oxygen, but they perform anaerobic respiration for energy production. Now anaerobic respiration has 2 steps. One is glycolysis and the other fermentation. Now if you observe the chart, during this glucose is incompletely oxidized, releasing less amount of energy. Pyruvic acid, okay, pyruvic acid produced through glycolysis is converted into other organic acid or alcohol in process which is called fermentation. This process is aided by some enzyme. Now if there is deficiency of oxygen level in the surrounding, some higher plants or animals and aerobic microorganisms also perform anaerobic respiration. For example, if the soil is submerged under water during germination, seeds perform anaerobic respiration. Now, if the soil is submerged into water, it doesn't get oxygen, correct? So, their energy is produced in the absence of oxygen. Similarly, human muscle cell, while performing the exercise, may also switch to anaerobic respiration. Sometimes when a particular posture in which we sit when we are exercising a particular part of the muscle, there the circulation of blood doesn't take place properly. See, it is only through circulation that the oxygen reaches to each and every cell. But due to various reasons, maybe a part of the muscle, okay, in that part maybe circulation is not taking place properly, and so oxygen doesn't reach there, and that part produces energy in the absence of oxygen. This makes the person feel tired due to less amount of release of energy and due to lactic acid accumulation. So you see how energy can be produced even in the absence of oxygen, but it will be in very less quantity compared to energy produced in the presence of oxygen. Okay, now the energy from different food component. Okay, now we have learned how energy can be produced from carbohydrates and proteins and fats. Now the carbohydrate which are not utilized are stored in the liver and muscle in the form of glycogen. Proteins are formed by amino acids which are held by peptide bonds. Therefore, it is called as a macromolecule. When proteins are digested, they are converted back into amino acid. Amino acids are absorbed in the blood circulation and transported to every cell. Now, as per the type of cell, amino acids are again used for making protein that are required in the body. If you can see the figure 2.4 protein and the different type of amino acid. Now, the food that we eat contain protein, which is a complex structure. After digestion, they get converted into simpler form, that is amino acid, and that through the circulation goes to every cell and it is used. Okay. Now, if you look into this table, you can understand how amino acids are used. Okay. Now, you have a tabular form for the same what we have done, which protein is used and where is it located. For example, melanin and keratin is present in the skin. You can go through this tabular form and learn this by heart. It could be asked in the exam in various objective type question. Now, the proteins of animal origin are considered to be the first class protein. Each gram of protein provides 4 kilocalories of energy. Now, if protein intake is more than required, it does not result in the storage of amino acid in the blood. Instead, they are broken down, forming ammonia, which is then eliminated by the body. Sometimes excess of protein is converted into glucose by a process called glucogenolysis. Plants by themselves can produce the necessary amino acid from mineral and then also different protein. The most abundant protein found in nature is an enzyme rubisco, which is found in the plant chloroplast. Now, lipids are formed from fatty acids and alcohol, which have a specific bond between them. When lipids are digested, they are converted into fatty acids and alcohol. Absorbed fatty acids are transported to all the cells through blood. Fatty acids produce different substance in different cells. For example, phospholipids produce plasma membrane, progesterone, estrogen, testosterone, aldosterone, etc. These are the hormones produced from fatty acids. These are also used as a covering around the axons of nerve cell. The adipose tissues in the body cell stores excess lipid. Now, each gram of lipid provides 9 kilocalorie of energy. So you see how the nutrients like carbohydrates, proteins, fats, how they are useful for the body. Now, other than this, vitamins, water and fibers are also essential for our body. Let us see how vitamins are useful to us. Now, vitamins are required for proper functioning and maintenance of the body. The main types of vitamins basically are of two types. One is fat soluble vitamin and the other is water soluble vitamin. Fat soluble vitamins are A, D, E and K, and water soluble vitamins are B and C. We have riboflavin, that is vitamin B2, and nicotinamide, that is vitamin B5, are necessary for their production of FADH2 and NADH2. Okay, that was regarding vitamin. Besides vitamin, we also require water. You know, water is an essential nutrient. Our human body contains 65 to 70% water. Out of that, 70% water by weight is present in every cell. Blood plasma has 90% water. So water is very, very important. Loss of water or dehydration can cause problem with the functioning of cells and later then of the body. The last part that is required is, but not the least, it is the fibers. Fibers cannot be digested and hence they become helpful in the digestion of other substance and ejection of excreta. In leafy vegetables, fruits and cereals, there is good amount of fiber. So it is very important for us to include fiber in our diet because it helps in the process of digestion or throwing away the unwanted food in our body. So we saw in this video how the essential nutrient, okay, is very important. That is why a balanced food, we discussed what is a balanced food. A balanced food is something which has got all the constituent of food nutrient in the right proportion. So if our food contains nutrients in the right proportion, we are sure that we are going to get the required energy for the body to carry out various function which is done by the internal organs, the external organs, the various organ system in our body. Okay, now in the next video we are going to see the next life process, that is the division of cells. Thank you.